Yep.
Sad, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Maybe something came up. Who knows?
Three of them tonight.
What tough is that?
Mm. Two payroll and
That's just so I can second.
there. That's a lot.
Okay, guys, I'm going to turn on the speakers because we're getting close.
Weird. I guess we're a lot of sky geeks.
It won't be me.
Me either.
Okay. Good?
Yeah.
Good. Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Remain standing for a short invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, as we gather this evening, we ask for your strength, courage, and wisdom. We thank you for this wonderful town that we live in and the privilege that it is to serve it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We're going to call to order the September 5th meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. Gentlemen have had a chance to read the minutes from two previous meetings, the first one being the executive session. I need a motion to either amend or approve the minutes.
Make the motion we approve the minutes, executive session.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Josh, Craig, 3-0. Now we have the minutes from our regularly scheduled meeting. I need a motion to either approve or amend them.
Make the motion we approve the minutes from our previous meeting.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Josh, Craig, 3-0. Unfinished business. I think this was put on the agenda because we had tabled it at our last meeting. Matt, Greg, do you guys want to give an update on that?
Good evening. So the update is that I am not a mechanic, and with the help of Mr. Sweeney, when I say rebuild, evidently I guess I'm not talking their terminology. It was rebuilt with the help of Sweeney, and that price, I did ask them what that was going to be. It was going to come in around this original quote for $6,600. So
We're back on schedule for what
back
we were.
on schedule, and it is in service and back at our firehouse. We're just waiting on that engine to come back now.
Is it? It's back at here? Or
The,
is
the old ladder is back at the firehouse.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay, good.
now we're just waiting for the annual service to get tested and stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Mr. Greg Sweeney, thank you very much. We don't know anything about putting out fires, Matt.
We do know about hydraulics.
Okay. We have under unfinished business, the ordinance 11, 2023, the annexation on North David Lane.
Yeah, so the St. John's came to speak to the council last meeting to discuss their plans for their property at 10073 North David Lane, and the need to get sewer to there to pour a foundation to put their new structure. They have executed the petition for super voluntary annexation, which is in your packet. That has started the clock. We'll order the fiscal plan, and then we'll get the public hearing scheduled. So there won't be any action that's taken on the ordinance today. It'll be for when we get through all of that and after the public hearing. And then that'll move forward. As you know, that the council made the commitment last time that so long as the St. John's would petition for super voluntary annexation and annex into the town of Mooresville, then we would extend sewer to their location. And so that's what they're working under, that assumption. So
No action needs to be taken.
no further action at this point. Nope.
Any questions for Jewel?
I think so. First,
Motion to adjourn?
I'll take it.
Welcome, Lance. Good to see you again. Under new business, homecoming street closure permit. Is Abigail here?
Hi, I'm Abigail with the Student Council at the high school. We are seeking road closure on September 15th at 5 o'clock. The route is on the form there. And
It's a different route than previous years, that the police chief, that's the route the police chief wants.
Well, it has the same route here. Chief, I needed to see, maybe you and Matt can come up here and kind of answer some questions for us. These are our two leading public safety officials in the town of Mooresville. I won't tell you which one's more important. I want you to figure that out on your own. So, shoulder to shoulder. On the department heads where we sign off on this, and the homecoming route should change to Carlisle, to Monroe, to Washington, to Indiana, and back to MHS.
Yes.
You want to shut down the two main north-south roads, Monroe, coming up from Plainfield or coming from the north, and then Indiana. And you think that it would be best at this time to run that through a construction zone with no finished sidewalks?
What I didn't want to do was shut down Maine and in Indiana at rush hour on Friday.
I forgot, you're a Decatur boy, aren't you?
Yeah. Actually, John Forbes had a lot to do with alternating that route, so, and he's been here a while, so he's
He's a Mooresville boy.
so you can't really blame it much on me.
If I may make a comment, so we've closed down Maine and Indiana for 30 plus years for this parade, other than a couple years, once during COVID, and then once when we had construction going on right there at the intersection. So
I'm just worried about us with the construction there. Matt, what do you think? I mean, with the open curbs?
I was the first one that got talked to about this. I didn't have any problems because it was going to be the original Old Settlers Parade. And then she came back to me after Chief Buckner asked for the recommendation of it changing. And I don't have any issues with either one. I didn't even think about the construction.
Well, I'm just worried about, I know that they've done some curb work there where they've got the road broke up from the curb, and then they've got none of the planting strips done. Drove by there yesterday just to make sure that I wasn't talking out of school, but you have tilled up dirt, mud if it rains, in between on the planting strips. Do you think the concern is Main Street?
Yes.
So if we hit Washington Street and went east there down to Maple, would that ease your concerns?
I think so.
Was the concerns from the businesses, or is it
No,
from
it's
a public
just the
safety?
amount of manpower it takes to shut down that entire Main Street. You got all those alleys that dump out in there. And, like I said, it's rush hour on Friday. And John said in the past they had used this route, and that's why he gave it to me. So.
I think they used it one year
For COVID. It's the COVID
during
route.
the COVID, and I don't know. Years and years ago, they went that way, but it was a fiasco because it was still a state highway then.
And if you override me and we go with the route they're asking for, then we need hard barriers on here because I don't want a bunch of kids getting killed by some crazy driver that
Not
just
to-
left the bar on Friday. So
Do we allow crazy drivers in Mooresville?
we do. The ones that my guys don't catch.
Are you okay with going down the Indiana Street?
Council?
What if we're still doing, what if we're still working that late and have trucks coming in and out?
What time's the parade? 4 o'clock? 5?
That's on a Friday.
Payday Friday. Yeah, payday.
We could ask them
5
to.
o'clock. But I just, I'm worried about if it does rain, the planting strip and everything like that. Do you think that the Washington Street would be sufficient to solve your
I think
concerns?
so. I think it's as long as we take Main Street out of it, I think we'd be fine.
That's the same people that's going to paint their windows blue and gold when the boys go to state, right? Oh, yeah, you're from Decatur.
I'd like to keep it down Main Street. I mean, if we could keep it down Main Street if possible, I mean, it's
I
the
can
old
count on
part.
you for a traffic control point.
I'll do it. Sign me up. But I mean, we do it Old Settlers, and we've done it for 30, 40 years,
When you say hard barriers, what do you want?
I want dump trucks full of sand, or I want concrete barriers
Where?
blocking this intersection off, so nobody sawhorses don't
Like
cut
we
it.
do for the street fair?
Yeah, sawhorses won't cut it. So
Dave, is that something we could do?
Dump trucks with sand, absolutely, the concrete barriers.
Well, I think kind of like what we do for street fair.
yeah, but you're talking for just a couple hours or an hour.
Can you get them to really march fast in the band? Double time.
And it's not as long as Old Settlers Parade. It's usually,
No.
it's probably half the size.
Yeah, because we have, over the past few years, especially since COVID, we've taken out any of the community groups, and it's really just the school groups.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker.
I think last year it took half an hour.
Well, I personally like to see if Dave could work with Chief Buckner and make that happen on those ends and continue Old Settlers route.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Form of motion.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Josh, Greg, 3-0. Dave will work with you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna run it just like you applied for.
Okay, all right, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Dave. Next item, Advanced Aero Personal Property SB Statement of Benefits.
Council members, I'm Mike Dellinger with Warren County Economic Development Corporation. I recently met with Todd from Advance Aero, who has submitted an SB1 on personal property, a little over $107,000 in new personal property, a piece of equipment the company is going to acquire for its processing. This is part of really a first step that we're working on with Advance Aero for them to continue to stay and grow in Mooresville. They're in a growth mode, so we're doing our due diligence to help them find a location where they can be here again for decades to come. So we're introducing this to you tonight. We'd hope that you would forward it on to legal, that we could begin the process for the tax abatement on this. And there are 2 other pending tax abatements that are forthcoming for additional personal property acquisitions they'll be making very soon. So we just wanted to get this first one in front of you tonight because it's the most imminent purchase, and then the other 2 will follow it very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Those of you that aren't aware, Advanced Aero is in the old Labco building on Harrison Street, just down from us here. It is a within TIF or TIF 1 area. It has been designated as a redevelopment area. Motion to have legal counsel move forward with advertising
Scheduling
for
for the
a
abatement.
declaratory and a
Confirmatory after.
confirmatory. Do I have that motion?
So moved.
Mike, one quick question. Just looking off the score sheet, you want it as a 5-year personal property?
Yes. Unless the council would want to go beyond that matrix, that's what it's scored on the matrix, which you use a guideline, but if you wanted to provide an additional incentive to the company as we're working to retain and then grow them here, we'd certainly be welcome to that as well. So thank you very much, the matrix, to specify.
Like, I think we stay with our matrix. Greg, did you make
Good
that?
sell, though.
Greg, did you make that motion? Yes. Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Greg, Josh, 3-0. Mike, quickly, we threw that in there where you, HWC had sent for the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority.
Yes.
Can you kind of share that with us?
Sure will. You have in front of you documents regarding Mooresville applying for and gaining membership into the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority. This Regional Development Authority was created by a number of municipalities: Indianapolis, Noblesville, Fishers, Anderson, Carmel, Plainfield, Avon are all at the table. And it's a regional entity that's designed basically to help the Central Indiana region be able to attain more economic development resources from the federal government through the EDA, the Economic Development Administration. So it's an important resource to have on the local level that helps in the regional aspect. The READY Fund that was done, READI, READY 1.0, the grant process that we recently completed in the state, they were getting ready to do a READY 2.0, and this will be run through the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority. And so this is the opportunity for Mooresville and Martinsville to join as voting members from the Redevelopment Authority, because a minimum 7,500 population is required for the municipality. The county government can join as a working group member, but I don't know right now how that membership, I don't believe it will be voting. Monrovia would also be a working group member where it could be, but not voting because it's not large enough, but it would be eligible for some of the regional monies that we're trying to attain to help us here continue the things we need to do in Morgan County. This is particular, what the state has asked for READY 2.0 is to focus on things that are pertinent to growing the Indiana population and improving quality of life in our communities. And that's the premise that's going with this. So this is being introduced to you tonight, and hopefully, certainly from the EDC's perspective, we recommend that the town of Mooresville become a voting member of this RDA through this application and acceptance process, because it will then make you more eligible for more funding from the federal government from the regional concept.
You can't. That authority is up to you to designate.
Yes. Yeah, you could make the,
I didn't ask you if you wanted to.
I have
but-
big ears.
I didn't ask you if you wanted.
Yeah, I know. You kind of just tell me, I get it.
You know, the HWC is the company that's working on our
Yes.
comprehensive plan and our thoroughfare plan. Did speak to, I don't know.
Corey Weitzel.
Corey Weitzel from there. And you know, they are not administrative.
Yeah, they'll be administering this. They'll kind of be doing the labor works, as it were, for the regional group. The regional group has Jennifer Messer is the new executive director. But basically, on the READY funding, what we've done is we've retained HWC to help us move the projects through the redevelopment authority to the state for approval. So it's good for us because we're already so intertwined with HWC here in this community and really throughout Morgan County. They've done a lot of our planning for us in our communities in the last 6 or 7 years. So Corey was also our administrator for our, what we call the 180 Alliance, the first Ready Go Around. He helped us with those monies and those processes as well. Which will be a little bit of a different region now than that first one was, but we were able to retain our region, the donut, as it were, minus Shelby County. We retained HWC to help the RDA out for this Ready 2.0 funding as well.
I did not mince words with him. I told him that the MPO has not been our best route. However, we are a member of the MPO because of our population growth back in the 90s, 80s and 90s. That said, this seems to be a little bit better, and it costs absolutely zero to be a member of it. The MPO, we still pay a nominal fee to them. This is at zero cost. We would designate a representative to that. I think since it's we're using it for economic development and possibly life places, I think someone from EDC would be a good choice as our representative. We don't have to appoint that this evening, but we can. And I did ask Jewel, and Mike is an acceptable, well,
I didn't say that.
Mike's position is an acceptable representative for the town of Mooresville. Are there any questions of Mike?
It's a service that you're already seeking through us in the sense we're happy to help you with that, the time and effort that goes into it, keep you all apprised of it.
Questions?
Or anything that's going to keep us in the loop as far as investments in the community.
Really, the whole thing is it's designed that we can create strength in the region to be able to obtain more federal funding for regional projects that are of significance to central Indiana and its communities. And the READY Fund is really separate from that because it's the $500 million fund that the state just created for the quality of life aspect that President Worthen just mentioned. So this is a win-win for Mooresville to do that, I think, to participate in this with the other communities.
No charge,
I like free.
other than Mike.
You're already paying for it.
Yeah. Need a motion to join the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority.
Motion to join the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Greg, Josh, 3-0. Now, do we want to wait or do we want to appoint Mike to that position at this time?
I
We
make
can always yank him off.
Willing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You do whatever you, the sooner you know, the sooner we get going. That's the key thing. So whatever you'd like to do.
Willing to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm a glutton for punishment. I mean, I love economic development.
Yeah. Is Lita ready for you to?
More than ready.
There you go. Motion?
Move to appoint Mike Dilliner to the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority on our seat.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Mike is now
Thank you all
our
very
representative.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to skate. I've got other things, Tom, as you know, in my family. So I'm going to thank you very much.
The thoughts are with you. This is our budget workshop. Gentlemen, I did have an opportunity to meet with our department heads. This is this year's budget, I'm going to say, is a extremely good example of good department heads. Our budgets all came in, our requests for budgets came in well within the limits of our funding. Some are a little off balance, but within reason to do it based on conservative estimates to our income or revenue sources. Last year, the state of Indiana said it certified our levy increase at 5%. Then everyone got their greetings and salutations from the county assessors back in April, and they got sticker shock from their tax bills. As always, our state legislature jumped in and said, we're going to fix that problem. They took away their promise of 5% and capped our levy growth at 4%. We really would have been in great shape if we had that 5%, but it is what it is. Our levy is, the increase to our levy is based on the $3.9 million that is raised solely on property tax. That's where the levy increase is. It is normally based off the last 3 years of non-farm related income averages, increase in incomes. And like I said, we were scheduled to hit 5% again this year. And the state, in order to fix a problem that I think maybe they even caused, said we're going to limit that levy growth. The department heads were all given that bit of information, and in a very unselfish show of loyalty and support to their departments, were given the options of 4% across the board for each employee. And granted, they're not setting that. We set the income or the salary ordinance later in the year, but it was brought to their attention. In the past, our employees have always been given a flat across the board raise or no raise at all. This year, it was presented to our department heads in the manner of you can have what would you recommend, what would you support for your employees, and that would be either a 4% across the board raise for each and every employee, or we take that 4% times the salaries divided by the employees. The 4% across the board would have set our salary increases from around $1,400 for the lower end of the pay scale up to $2,700 increase per year for the department heads. It was, and I promised them that they could tell me, and it would be a secret ballot, and the majority of the department heads said they want to take care of their people. They want a $2,200 across the board raise. It's not that they're setting the salary ordinance, but I wanted to set the tone for tonight's budget hearing. The department heads are looking out for their employees. The department heads are looking out for their departments. And it was a kind of a proud moment when those votes came in. That said, which department head wants to play first? Not everybody at once.
Let him jump up.
David Moore, you submitted your budget for your MVH. Gentlemen, if you'll look at what was submitted and then what was worked through, where you're going to see the major change, or one of the most major change, and one of our members of the public already jumped out there and said, hey, I noticed this. If you look at each one of the departments, the IT expenses are gone. We decided not to have computers anymore. This Wi-Fi was just a passing fad, and I don't think we'll ever use it again. But if you go to our CCD, we moved $110,000 out of CCD, funding from CCD, to pay for IT services across the board. What that did is that shifted it to another portion of CCD is a property tax driven fund, but it did move it to that CCD and freed up those funds to be moved throughout the budgets. It wasn't necessarily taken out of there, it was just moved within those budgets. Some of the departments did, and I guess I need to go back to that. Last year, we did some financial moving manipulation of some insurance funds, some legal funds, and to be able to show the increase in longevity, and those funds were replaced back within the budgets, which we talked about that last year. Dave, I think one of the good things that came out of it was we knew we were going to try to fund the dump truck because we didn't think it was going to come in, but you said that it is going to be here by the end of the year. So we do have funding set aside this year for other capital outlays, and that is the dump truck. But we also left money in there for this year's capital improvement funds. Dave, we want to look at your budget again and see if there was anything that you think that you may have overlooked that we need to make changes for. Again, if you look at his budget, we did come back with some changes. If you look down, the IT services moved out of there. Also on sidewalks, we had moved the sidewalks completely out of the MVH fund into other capital improvements with the CCD. Are there any questions for Dave on his budget? Are there any comments or questions from the public on Dave's budget? Dave, is there anything you would like to add?
Thank you for all your work you guys put into this. Appreciate it.
Not done yet, but we'll get there. Who wants to be next? Here, I think there were some deductions that may have been made in yours as far as bills that we had seen and budgets where we had seen you this year at a certain point in time and being able to move forward from those numbers, numbers that had not been spent. One of them is other insurance. There was some removed from there just for the simple fact that we calculated what the insurance would be. The information and technology was at $16,000. Obviously, we did pull that out of there. I know that you are working with Phil, and we'll hopefully see something different.
Yeah.
We did bump the maintenance agreements per your request by $33,000. I think everything else was kind of a 5% cost of living.
Yeah, that was the only way I could estimate it. I called some of my contracts and said how increase we foresee next year. Said about 5%. The only other thing that I can say is on my new flock cameras, which they've been in invaluable to the guys, and we've been killing the language numbers on that next meeting, but those are the $3 grand fees. There's 4 of them, that's $12,000. And I don't know if I need to take that up with this technology. It's only
What I'd like to do is maybe, and I don't remember where we were, I think, of course, we don't know what prices are going to do, but I think it may be in the end of October, beginning of November, we look to see if we're going to have any money to encumber, and let's just go ahead and buy them at the end of this
We
year.
spoke about encumbering that for tires, so we can start.
Well, we always want to do the tires.
Our maintenance costs this year have been astronomical because of the old equipment we have. When we're trying to turn around, we're thinking a couple thousand bucks. One of the vehicles, I fixed one of the vehicles myself to save some money. Here we go. So,
Cut the fan belt off of it. The alternator wasn't working.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, if we can do that, we look forward to that, I think I'm pretty good on that. Now that I know how to do that.
Yeah, we talked about the tires last year. I know that in the past, we've ordered tires, and now we have 3 different size tires that we need to get put up and in stock somewhere.
Yes.
So,
I talked to Tom Dudd down at Big O, and he's looking, kind of shopping around for the tires for our new Cadillacs.
since we met with Paige, was there anything that you came up with that you thought of that, hey, I really,
So the money you spoke about for my vehicles, the $180,000 you told, is that out of the?
they're
capital
not
improvement?
coming out of, the capital improvement plan is not an account. That is looking at, what would we like to do, and that's a wish list. But it is funded, it is fully funded, for those, to try to get back into rotation on these cars. You know, we did a little bit of, we can say, hey, we're to blame a little bit for, maybe not buying the cars, but also the cars just weren't available. It's not that we didn't want to buy them, it's that we couldn't get them. We had been with the Fords, they went a year there where they didn't produce the Fords because of the body changes, and then now they just don't get them.
In the 2020, we're having quite a bit of problem. That's the last year we purchased it. We're having a lot of transmission issues.
You said that you had made some,
And we
did
we
some
actually-
service.
We did a couple of those transmission flushes, and it could work. We actually have to be able to, wouldn't go more than 10 miles an hour once they flushed it. It runs fine. We have issues with our new guy.
now I'm thinking give it to John if he'll only go 10 miles an hour.
Not all that fast.
Yeah, that's not nice.
No, but I appreciate you working with me on that.
Okay, are there any questions for Carrie?
We did talk about eventually, hiring another dispatcher, so we're not working on that. So we talked about it, and the dispatcher, at least a dispatcher, 2. We'll just let out when I talk about, we'll try to knock it to Diane later and talk about maybe getting the salary bump a little bit so we're comparable with the county, so we can keep the county work.
Okay.
We have an old dispatcher, I say, well, she's not old, but she used to work here, and she's working back, so.
Someone that's already trained and knows our
Yeah, so,
idiosyncrasy.
we're running one of our younger gals to a training program right now. She's doing really well. And she'll just be part-time, but anything to help. Because if we have somebody sick, or like recently Brian Beasley's father passed away and he was off for 4 or 5 days, we had to use one of the clerks to fill in on late shift. And then we had the clerks up front because one was on vacation. It was kind of a mess.
In the part-time dispatchers, we kind of based it off of where we were at this year. Do you think we need to move more in there now, or you want, let's play it by ear and see what happens with your, okay.
Just hire it, see how it works that first year, and if we have any money left over, we can cover it for the next year, I think.
we can work something in. Maybe not encumber it for that specific, but maybe for something else to free up some money for that.
I would like to, down the road, look at hiring another dispatcher full-time. I mean, I have Steve, he's been there a while, he's retired once, and he's eligible to retire again, and we lost him. He does a lot for us, and Brian Beasley has about the same knowledge level. He's getting there, but I don't want to leave us short. So.
Any questions for us? Okay, well, thank you very much. I did ask you guys if you had any questions, didn't I? Okay. Ooh, Park Department. Didn't see you yet.
Good evening.
Good evening. Oh. For Park and Recreations, Phil had some kind of unique ideas, and if you'll look up at the personnel, he chose and to move $94,000 out of his park budget. But he's also moving that out of his, is that RECU or non-reverting fund. That program that was put into place 4 or 5 years ago, questionable on whether it would even sustain itself, and has really done well for the park department, and also really done well for the young kids here in Mooresville through the Mooresville schools. I think the Mooresville schools have praised our use of that, or service there, and I think they're happy with that. And Phil has continued to grow that program. Phil is working on the IT service contract, and again, moving that out of each one of the department's budget, moving $12,500 out of the park department. Doesn't mean that they won't have any say, doesn't mean that they won't. It's just right now everything is being divided a little bit here, a little bit there, and this just makes the accounting portion of it better. And we do have a place to fund that from.
And I will have an update for the council later at the department head report.
You don't have a 45-minute.
No, it's not 45 minutes. It's not 5 minutes.
Are there any questions for Phil? Phil, do you have any questions for us?
I'd just like to point out for anybody in the community or anybody that's seen this, you may have seen in the line in our general operating budget of our fireworks display at a zero balance for the future. That has been moved to a new line, special events, basically a line item of 207. That is to incorporate more of community events, using tax dollars to do more community special events and to incorporate that. So it's not gone, it's just moved into a different line.
And it grew.
Yes, sir. We're also celebrating Mooresville 200, so we're planning to do something special with the community celebration as we go through next year.
We should have a party.
I'm planning on it. The only other things I'd like to bring up is I think it's just more or less maybe a formulation error. The account line 212 of computer supplies, I think we rolled that in with the IT services. That's our main hardware, software, computers. So we look at adjusting that figure. If we match what was this past year at 7,000, fine with that operating moving forward. I have a couple outdated computers that are in need for replacement in the future. Hopefully I can make that do this year with operating budget, but just in case, it would be beneficial to have that in the line.
Again, I think just like with what we talked about, Carrie, come October, November, we need to look and see things that you need to buy that you still have line items full. Let's encumber those, because all of this is based off of spending down that budget to zero.
Correct.
That's good. I want to make sure that the council knows that that 207, the special events and some event supplies, that was all Phil. That was something that's new that he had, the brainstorm and said, hey, we want to do some other things. I think the park is really going in a strong direction. Thank you. Anything from the council? Okay.
Thank you.
Next. Thank you very much, Phil. 5 minutes. Fire department, if you look at their, and if you'll kind of just look over to the right at their increase and decrease, their health insurance went down just a little bit, and that was just a calculation of the number of employees. The water maintenance agreements, those were based off of what was actually spent this year, so far this year. IT services, again, have been pulled out of Matt's budget. Matt, since our last meeting, did you have anything that you saw that you were, had second thoughts on or wanted to change?
So after looking at tonight's proposal, is there any, can we get my building maintenance increased back up to, I'd asked for I think it was 6%, and the only reason for that is I just found out today that our HVAC system in our headquarters is done. I've asked them if there is if they can replace it. They're trying to look to see if they can be replaced. They said it's one of the 15-year-old HVAC system. Blowing air out of offices right now are about 8 degrees.
Here or? Okay. Okay.
So with that being said, with the budget that I have, I'm actually operating 2 buildings. The upstairs portion of my headquarters plus the firehouse. And we're running short on that since we took out that $10,000 out of that.
At our next meeting, the committee that was formed to select a company as far as looking at all of our HVACs are going to have by then a strong recommendation on the company we need to go with. Then they're going to come in and they're going to start right off the bat. That building is job 2, this one's job 1, job 2, and they're going to look at each and every one of the buildings. Is it just the air conditioning portion of it?
Something about a coil. I remember reading that. It's basically cracked. And they said it has to fix it. And they're afraid if they start soldering it. They're looking to see if the part could be purchased. So they are looking into it. Okay. That was the comment.
What I'm hoping, or what our goal is we were looking at the ARPA money, the American Recovery Funds, to address all of the HVAC, especially across the street, especially at the fire department, because I know we've had some issues out there. There's even been some questions on whether that was sufficient to begin with or not. They're going to come in, they're going to evaluate everything. Our goal is not necessarily, they say, well, this is going to be more efficient or that's going to be more efficient, 20% more efficient, 10%. Our goal is not saying, hey, we want to save a fortune on our utility bills. We no false illusions there. Hopefully, with the increased cost of electricity and gas and everything that goes into making hot or cold air, if they're more efficient, hopefully we can hold our costs the same as what they were. Because whatever efficiency, I'm sure, will be gobbled up by the cost of the services provided or the utilities provided. The other thing is, I'm hoping that everything comes with some type of factory warranty and then possibly even an extended warranty to where we can take your HVAC completely out of your budget. I'm going to say that this is all going to be done next year. In the meantime, anything that you have that you don't have funding for on here, we can cover that with our other town improvements, our CCD fund that we have for other expenses right now. Yes, Liz, shy of them saying, hey, we have to put in a brand new unit. I'd rather not do that because I expect to see a brand new unit in there, and hopefully whoever you have looking at it, would be willing to bid on the entire package. Okay. Anything else? Are there any questions for Matt?
My only question was on the maintenance agreement. Like last year was budgeted 23,000. This year's only 1,000. What was that detailed like?
Maintenance agreement.
363. Yeah.
The maintenance agreement. That was, last year was 23, or I'm sorry, this year was 23. With talking with the clerk's office and Tom, we basically shifted that over to the increase that I asked for into the equipment. I actually thought the maintenance equipment, the maintenance agreements was actually for our vehicles and stuff like that, and I was explained differently on that.
It was increased elsewhere.
I see that now, yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other department heads? That's it, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Clerk Treasurer's Office.
I am pleased with what we came up with during our workshop with the department head when Baker Tilly was present and my deputy clerk, Debbie, so I think we're good to go with what we submitted.
And if you look at the town hall, they were mostly deductions. The computers and the IT services. And in that IT services are the 365 contracts, the email contracts. Are there any questions for Diane?
I think so.
Comments from the public? Again, our park department started in at a very unfunded balance. Phil did some creative financing there with the non-reverting and other ideas, and we came out very well on it. I don't think we're completely balanced on his budget, but we are very close. Dave's MVH budget still goes back to state legislation where they were going to fix the problem and took our MVH funds and restricted half of them. Dave has spent the last 6 years trying to recover from that fantastic legislation and is getting closer and closer to that. All of our department heads have done an amazing job of living within their means and trying to also look forward to the future. Any comments, or do we need to move on? We will move on. Do you have it? This is our public hearing for the additional appropriation of monies deposited into the general fund. This is the $9,000 for the surplus vehicle that the fire department had. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak either for or against the transfer of these funds? No one on the list? I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Make the motion to close the public hearing.
Been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Josh Gregg, 4-0. I need a motion to approve ordinance 10, transferring the $9,000 over to the fire department's fund.
Motion to approve ordinance 6/10/2023.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Greg, Josh, 3-0. I did want to come back on one item, which we do have in the CCD. In other capital outlays, we do have $65,000, and that's the oh dear moments that we may or may not have in there. That, the CCD, if you remember right, we did increase that to the maximum of 0.5%. We did estimate that that would be an increase of about $46,000 for the town of Mooresville. I wanted to look on. If we look at the general fund, general town hall, we have funded, since I can remember, since at least 1999, we have funded $10,000 to the Senior Citizen Center. One of their board members did politely ask if there would be a chance that if we saw a way to increase that. When asked what they had in mind, they wanted $27 million. We do have the funding, and that will be something that I did want to put out there on the council's radar. We give $10,000 since 1999. All of our budgets have went up, including the Senior Citizen Center. They have been very humble when they ask, and this is the first time that I know of that they've asked for an increase. Whether we can increase it $1 or whether we can increase it, double it, triple it, or whatever, that is something that I did want to put on the radar. I'm not asking for the increase there, but it is doable through the CCD fund. That would be on next year's pay to them. They were more than happy with what we've given them this year. Next item on the agenda is the unsafe buildings. Dave Moore. Dave, did you bring help with you?
I did bring help. The experts.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Ready? Really am not. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, great. So, in light of some conversations that's been had in these meetings over the past couple of months, we, being Tim Bennett, our inspector, our fire marshal, J.D. Robinson, and myself, after speaking with legal counsel, we agree that further action should be taken to address a couple of unsafe structures. as well as a couple of properties that have just become a public nuisance. So in order to do that, there needs to be funding, of course, and we'd also like council direction on how to do this. Actually, to move forward, I think we are at the point to bring these business owners, homeowners, whatever it may be, to the judge, and she can make a ruling. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think that's where we're at with some of these.
Yeah, so, depending upon where you are with it and what action you want to take moving forward, we would need a legal order.
So I guess the reason I'm here tonight is to see which direction the council wants to go. I think, with JD, Tim, and myself, they have actually laid eyes on some of the structures. We're lucky that we haven't had people hurt or killed in one or two of them. On those two, we do need to take some action. So they would be able to answer any questions that you may have, if you have any. So with that being said, how do we move forward here?
Residential or business?
So they're businesses, but one is being used as a R2 or an R3. They've been made into little apartment homes. Very dangerous situation. We have sent that particular owner a letter. We didn't get a satisfactory response from him.
The big problem that I see is, and he said it, he hit it right on the head, the funding portion of it. Do we have the authority to set a fee, or is there a fee set in our ordinance to where we can, even if it's a cease and desist, stop doing what you're doing, and for every month that you don't have it done, we are going to charge you this much money? Because the idea of, we've shown it, our example of let's clean it up or let's tear it down, didn't work out for us very well. We got the job done, but I don't know that we have the money to do it over and over and over again. What are our options? What are our teeth that we can use?
I would have to go back and look at your unsafe building ordinances themselves, but usually you have some sort of penalty provisions within your ordinances themselves, but it runs into the same situation. You can issue fines, get citations. It's the matter of collecting it. And how do you get that in? In situations in which we're talking about truly unsafe buildings where there is a concern as to health and safety of the public. I mean, are these places that public is coming in, invited into?
Well, one is a business. He has a sign on his door. It is, this sign states, "Do not come in, give me a call and I'll meet you outside." The other is it's a storage unit being used as apartments, basically. The serious damage to the roof.
Not going around you by any means here, but Tim, JD, you guys have had 2 years of studying. What do you see the ideal situation being?
Repair, or they're going to be torn down. 100% agree. They're that bad. They're structurally unsound as we sit here. They're both zoned business, Julie. I mean, they might not be for the public to walk in and out of necessarily, but they are
Zoned as commercials.
Can't use them as residences, I mean, actually.
The one on Bolton Avenue is being utilized as an apartment. It's zoned industrial. On the map program, it's zoned wrong. It's incorrect. We went back and researched it in 2004 or 5. It was supposed to have a variance. It never got approved. So that kept it as an I-2. They can't live there. And they certainly are. It's a really, really, really bad situation.
But we don't want to focus on them living in an eye. It's a hazard. That is the problem.
The buildings are falling down around them,
Yes.
both of them.
Yes. And we've been inside both of them, and we've got pictures.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you can do to move forward is, I know we have the concern about the costs associated with the cleanup or the repair, but we should be able to go and get an order, essentially shutting down the business operations. And so you cannot continue to operate until you get it into compliance with the building code. That's not us going in and actually cleaning it up and bringing it up to code. We get an injunction against them from continuing to operate until it is. There's still costs associated with that in the legal fees. Not as much as going to clean up something completely and then putting a lien on it, but
If we cite him into court, those two guys there have worked hard diligently at this, but they need legal. Do we call you and say, hey, we've got a court date, and you provide someone for that purpose?
yeah, so, I mean, I think Beth has been working with you guys, walking through this process. Beth would be who I would anticipate to handle this moving forward. It would, again, it won't just be a citation. We would be asking for some sort of injunctive relief to prohibit them from continuing to operate until it's brought up to code, so.
Yes?
I mean, it's going to get the unsafe part, I guess, handled as far as no one being allowed in the building, right? I mean, that's the point. Until they're repaired.
Right, until it's up to code, until you guys are comfortable with the safety of it. Now, if it can never happen, that's up to, I mean,
What happens then? Is there a timeline on this, or
Yeah, how
they
long?
have indefinitely to get them repaired?
generally,
All due respect, we are talking major structural repairs for both of these buildings. So, and I can't speak to their financial situation, obviously, but we're talking a very serious safety hazard for our town.
and is it a safety hazard if they are enjoined from continuing to operate? Does it remain as a safety hazard?
Absolutely, because if we get a bad storm roll through here again, those buildings can come down pretty easily. One of them's, the block on the side of it's spalled. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's coming apart. So take that for what it's worth. And we documented that.
What I would propose and what I would like to do is Beth and I come sit down and then go through this stuff, go through the ordinance, and then make a recommendation to you as to how to proceed, and then what the best options are, and kind of an estimate on potential exposure to the town for costs.
Can we do that before our next meeting?
Yeah, we can have that meeting and then just give a report to you guys. You won't be able to take action on it until you have a meeting.
Right, but I mean, at our next meeting, we'll be able to take action on
Yes.
your recommendation.
Yes. Yeah.
We got 2 weeks, that's all we got.
Yep.
We can do it.
Yeah.
I need a motion from the council for Jewel to work with them, get this done, and bring a recommendation to us.
Motion to allow legal to move forward with Tim and JD in resolving this issue.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. We gotta have a plan. We gotta have a plan.
That's my department head report as well.
Okay, next department head.
So last week, and I didn't send out an email to everybody, we did receive another grant from the REMC for $1,200 for equipment. So hopefully we'll be getting that spent here in the next couple weeks and getting more equipment for the gentleman. Our process is going completed, and hopefully by the end of the month we'll have a conditional offer for our candidates, whoever completes. I have nothing else unless you guys have any questions.
I do. In the claims, there was a $58,000 claim for the roof. I know that's insurance, but did you get 3 quotes on that, or how did that? I didn't even know we were doing the roof at this point in time.
Yeah, there was 3 quotes. One was Stewart Construction. The other one was Midwest Recreation. And then the other quote did not even come in. I think it was Josh Smalling.
Okay. Did you accept the lowest bid?
We accepted the Josh Stewart, which is he was the lowest bid, yes. It was for the insurance, $5,800. Or $58,000, sorry.
They have copies of that. Can you get copies of that to where we can put it in a file? $58,000, it's below the 75. Can we do it on quotes? I hope we could have.
It's done, right?
It's done.
My understanding when I talked to Dave, that's what Beth said, if it was under $150,000. We could go off of
75,000.
75 to go get formal things back. 150 is a public work where you have to put out specs and have people bid, a sealed bid response. But yeah, I don't know anything about this one. So.
I didn't either. I did not either. The only good news is, if there is such a thing, the total insurance payment on that was $58,324.27. I did find out that you did submit completion on it, so we'll get the depreciation back.
Correct.
And that was submitted today. Is
that was actually submitted last week, but evidently the email did not go through, so I'm going to have to resubmit that to it.
Okay, so we did spend above, what it did cost us. Now, the only good thing on this is, when we renewed our insurance, we did have, in the policy was built in by our agent, was if our deductible was $5,000, and if the claim is 10 times our deductible, so $50,000, they waive the deductible. So we did not have a deductible taken off of what they said their real cash value was of $58,324.27. Now, we also have claims on the water damage.
Correct.
And there will be a deductible on that. Are you getting quotes on that? I think there was, what was it? How much was it? $17,241 is what the insurance has paid us. But there is a $5,000 deductible on that, so I'm assuming that they felt like there was $23,000 or $22,240 in damages. I think there was one came in from Grismer or the...
that was for the...
when the compressor fell?
Yep.
So...
You said how much was that again? I was thinking that was about 13, not 17.
They said that they had paid $17,341. They may have only paid $13,000 up to now because they, with insurance companies, you've got to have the work done before you, you know that.
So we did not get the inside done because if you remember when the water line broke with the compressor, we had the roof leak at that point in time, a week after that whole issue. So we, instead of opting to get the inside fixed until we got the roof fixed, that's what we ended up doing, is just waiting until that roof got fixed, so we didn't have a repair getting damaged.
Well, on that particular portion of it, we're going to be $5,000 less than what insurance says it would be. So I think we need to be very frugal on how we bid that job out. They use Xactimate estimate the Xactimate when they do this here. I'm just surprised, when we did the roofs here, we had 3 quotes on them, and the cheapest one failed us. We weren't able to use them, but the company that we used was not the second lowest, and I'm surprised that the other. How did you advertise that we were needing quotes, or did you go and get them?
I just went and got them.
Where are we at on that with the State Board of Accounts? Are we going to be okay?
I think so. I haven't heard anything from.
I mean, this is real time. This is happening now. We've got the claim in there for the $58,000.
And the work's been performed, right? So, I mean, I guess what you would be doing right now is you would be ratifying it retroactively of that process, or that quote, as the one to do the work, and then approving the claim off that. I mean, I think that's the best you can do, and I'm not sure where State Board would come down on it next year.
We need to get the documentation. Do you have some documentation where you requested the third quote?
It was in a phone call, yes, but now that
Don't have an email or anything like that?
No, sir.
So are you saying if it's under 150, we don't have to have 3 bids, or they don't have to be sealed bids?
So 150 is the public works standard, where you have to go out and then advertise it, and then you get the bids back. Here, with it at this level, you can go and invite quotes. So it's just, hey, what are you going to take to? So you can reach out to different people to come do this, or you can advertise it. And then normally what happens is you have these 3, 4, 5 quotes. You bring it in, and the council would decide, hey, yeah, let's go with this one, and let's move forward that way. I mean, I think that's a normal process you would go down.
So it still needed to come in front of the council?
The best procedure is that it comes in front of the council, because the insurance monies, while it's being deposited into us as a reimbursement, it's not technically approved for that expenditure until you guys take action on it. And that's what today would essentially be on this roof.
Now, obviously, the roof's done.
I apologize,
The whole ask for forgiveness instead of permission is not going to work for us. We're going to be the ones that answer to this, because that money did come into the general fund, and we spend it as that being a general fund property, that being an entity of the town, that being part of it. So the work's done, we'll approve it in the claims, and then we'll go from there. We have to have the quotes from the other 2, and you assure me that this was the lowest bid of the 2 that you got?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Eric? I do have something for you. and I've got blamed so many times that I'm just trying to. This one right here. I got blamed in the past for holding claims out, but I think you held this one. Are you working on that for Telemagine? Because I know you made the comment that we had done some of the work in-house. So that one,
I just need to have the detailed bill so I can go through with, and I have it, and go through it with Steve to see what exactly he did.
okay. And then the way that I interpret that is at the very end of it, it says, we're done, we're walking away from it. Is it working?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the gate's finally working.
And then, but that is part of that was talking about the intercom. The intercom not working and.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what was done by then. We had 3 different people out there working on it. Taylor Systems was there, and I guess I wasn't there the day that Telemagine was there, but Steve had more information. He was out of town, so once he got back, I sent him those bills so he could take a look at them, and he said there seemed to be some stuff there that he probably did. And then the work they did on my computer, which was about 20 minutes of work, was during regular business hours, so like I said.
Okay, but that claim there, you feel comfortable holding out?
Yeah, it's just, until I get to the bottom of what's going on.
That claim was submitted for payment tonight, but I think I'd left one of my nasty.
Yes, he didn't leave me enough room to write anything else on there.
I don't think it was nasty.
So I just told Tammy to hang on to it. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to keep that? Or do you have a copy?
Yep. Okay. All right, anything else?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
No.
I got some fun news, and then bring up the update on the IT services. So today I would like to present the official Pioneer 18 disc golf course that is officially open and is getting regular use, so much that we're estimating 20 to 35 users a day at this time. So the Morgan County Disc Golf Club held their weekly kind of night tournament. Well, not tournament, but just their kind of hang out and play. We had 30 users on that evening. It was last Monday. The course record is -10 right now, so 10 under par. It's a par 3 course. We are currently installing the tee pads with what's used as a hog slat, which is basically poured concrete surface mold. They're imperfected, so they can't be used for actual swine barns. So we get them at a heavily discounted rate, and they provide great, basically used to do a 4x8 pad of concrete for a significant discount. So we've installed T-pads 1 and 2 today, so we're hopefully by the end of the week we'll finish that install of the T-pads, get proper signage, finalized signage, but I'm happy to announce that the disc golf course in Pioneer Park is officially open. So on top of that, we have also installed all 6 of our cornhole permanent locations. We're set those on place near Shelter 1 and Shelter 6 in Pioneer Park. Shelter 1 has 2 sets. Shelter 6 has 3 sets. There are 2 cornhole locations, and we've also placed 1 set out at Old Town Park. Those are concrete molds. Those will be set more permanently structured, laying some 53s or small stone underneath them. We've placed them to basically kill the agriculture that's underneath the ground, to wait till the ground kind of softens for us to do more of the barrier work, so we can get it more flush to the surface so our mowers can work around them. On top of that, the restroom at Old Town Park is working very well, well received, and we have officially closed all of our aquatics features for the season. And other than that, update for the IT management for the council. when I first came, speak on behalf of the other department heads and basically speaking of where we stand right now with our IT infrastructure for our town, it was first addressed that we should request for a proposal. After consulting with a few professional colleagues in the IT world, they suggested that we more open this up for a request for information. This way, for the corporations in question that have expressed interest or will gain interest, for them to come in and do a audit of some capacity and really test our system, see where it is, where our security issues may be, or software upgrades need to be done, or software or hardware, any of those informations that we need to do improvements. It is my hope for this evening, I will send the council this electronically as well, but to open this publicly for those certain organizations, and then also other organizations that I have not already had a conversation with for interest, to open this publicly for the process to begin. On top of that, I would also recommend us speak with our current IT infrastructure provider to potentially discuss about a short-term extension of our current contract through the remainder of the year. I also speaking with the professional consultants of the IT network. They provided that we need ample time to, if we do any switch with organizations or corporations, there needs to be a solid time frame for us to put the infrastructure in place. This is not something that we can just kind of turn the key and do it overnight. Will take time for us to lay in any new infrastructure if that's chosen at the conclusion of gathering the information.
Bid on it, and they may win.
Right.
So, how do we do that? You want to look at their contract to see if there is an extension clause?
Yeah, I'd like to look at that. Normally what you have is a month-to-month, possibly afterwards, but we can reach out just to see if they would be willing to extend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our current contract goes through the end of October, so we're looking at November and December will be the contract months.
Is that acceptable with the council? Consensus? Yes. Do you need a vote on it?
No. Other than that, we'll answer any of the questions that the council may have at this time.
Cornhole bags come in with it?
No cornhole bags currently are provided, or discs for the disc golf club, but stay tuned. Things are happening very quickly. There is an opportunity. There's a new system that could come online for Parks and Rec agencies. It's basically a mobile recreation vending machine. And that's also, I know there's a lot of discussion of pickleball courts. This would also be an opportunity for us to invest in that, for pickleball paddles or balls to be able to be used and rented basically at the time. Ultimately, it's really early for those vending machines, so still trying to understand how they operate. Any other questions?
Good.
Thank you.
Legal counsel.
Nothing further.
Public comments. Mooresville 200 Eclipse.
Hello, everyone. I haven't seen you in a couple weeks. Thought I'd come back and bug you some more. So I am here tonight on behalf of the Mooresville 200 Executive Group. Also, I am the head of the Eclipse weekend for Mooresville. We have a lot of stuff going on that weekend, but the number one thing that is happening, obviously, is the once-in-a-lifetime thing that we just so happen to be a part of, which is the solar eclipse. And this is going to be a full solar eclipse. We've discussed this before when we talked about the festival that we will have that weekend. the Mooresville 200 group is graciously hosting all the events that will happen in Mooresville to keep these people entertained. But at the same time, the Morgan County EMA, as well as Homeland Security, is predicting that we will have upwards of 120,000 visitors that weekend. That's a lot of people.
Morgan County or here?
In Morgan County, yes.
The whole county.
Yeah, so it's actually the area between Mooresville and Martinsville that will get hit the hardest. Martinsville is working on some activities for that weekend as well, and so are we as the Eclipse group and the 200 group. But we're kind of running a little bit low here for, supply for all the people that we're going to have to be around for that weekend. We need porta potties for that weekend. The key to this is that whether we are having a festival or event or anything like that, these people are still going to be here visiting for the eclipse. So we're going to need to have ample areas for them to use the restroom and have sanitation areas. So I am here again on behalf of the Mooresville 200 group to ask if the Town of Mooresville will pay for our sanitation and trash removal for that weekend. I gave you guys the best quote that I got. The B&R services came recommended from Matt Dalton, and I actually checked with Phil just a little bit ago, and he said that they are who he uses as well. These porta potties would be stationed in the downtown area as well as in the park area and the library area. Which is where we plan to have the most people parking, the most people moving around for that weekend. It also comes with hand washing stations. They will be servicing these porta units every day for that weekend so that they'll stay fresh and clean and sanitized for the visitors that we have there. Also, Greens Roll-Off Service is offering to provide us with 2 20-yard dumpsters for that weekend for trash removal, because with extra people comes extra trash, right? They've offered to provide us with the dumpsters at no charge for drop-off, hook, and so on and so forth. We will just be responsible for paying for the dump fee when the weekend is over. Greens Roll-Off is predicting that service will be about $195 per dumpster for the weekend. So that's about $390 total. And again, we're asking that that be rolled into the sanitation for the weekend.
Where are you going to put 120 of them?
So our main plan right now for the downtown area is the parking lot next to or between Buffalo Gal and the attorney's office, the Main Street parking lot. That will hold 80 units.
How many?
80. And that gives them enough room to come in and sanitize them and empty them with the truck every day afterwards. They're also we're gonna put some at the park, obviously to help out traffic there, because we will have a kids zone along with concerts and vendors at the park as well. And then we have some going to the library, because there will be activities at the library as well as public parking around the library.
How much do you guys have for this? Do you have any?
As of right now, the 200 group is $26,410 into the Eclipse weekend. So we've run out of money for the Eclipse weekend. Because not only are we providing the activities that people are going to have to do, but we're also providing money for the shuttle service that will run around from the parking areas, the designated parking areas that we will have to have for that weekend, carting people to the activity centers and back and forth.
Okay. And that quote is good until December, so we have a little bit of time here until the next
We
meeting.
have a little bit of time, but I would also like to stress that the majority of the other sanitation companies that I've talked to so far are already sold out for that weekend.
And you have more than one quote,
I talked to 4 different companies, and this is the best one.
but you do have,
I
you
do.
have them,
Yes,
so we'll probably need those.
I can send those
Just
to
had
you.
that conversation. Okay, that'd be good.
So is this 4,000 to come clean them every day?
Yes. So that's to make sure that all 105 units are cleaned and sanitized and refreshed every day. Here's the thing, I don't want people from out of state, out of town, out of anywhere to come to Mooresville and have a really great weekend, but then leave us and complain about, well, we didn't have ample bathrooms, or our sanitation areas were gross, or I don't want them to take that away from Mooresville. I want them to come and have a good time and say that we were prepared for what was going on.
They're gonna complain anyway, but
Well, let's hope not.
somebody.
I'm doing everything I can to try not to let that happen.
You guys pretty confident 120,000? That's
Okay, when the director of Indiana Homeland Security stands in front of me and says, this is what we're expecting, I'm going to believe what he says to me. I've also got Department of Conservation, as well as Morgan County EMA. All of you guys have actually been invited to the EMA meetings that are once a month in Martinsville. I would like for at least somebody from the town council to come and see those meetings in person. They're actually really interesting, very helpful. Like, we're just going to get a big dump of people on us for an entire weekend. They have compared it to Hopkinsville, Kentucky in 2017. Some people from our EMA group went down and talked to their tourism group, kind of get an idea of what they were prepared for, what they weren't expecting, what they could have done better to help us in Morgan County manage that as well. But Morgan County is going to be the main and best viewing area for the state of Indiana.
That.
It's just the path of the eclipse, the path of the sun, and where the eclipse lies.
And you promise no rain?
It's a rain or shine event. We will still go completely dark.
That was my question. I think we need to figure out if we can come up with money or not.
I'd like to see the other quotes.
Yeah,
if you don't
quotes.
mind. Yeah.
Be prepared. They were expensive.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Not today.
We'll have answers hopefully at our next meeting.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public?
Yeah, I don't know if you can remember back an hour and a half ago, but we were talking about the homecoming parade. So I'd already spoken to at least one of the town council members about this. We seem to do the same route year after year after year, and having it go by my house one year when we did it differently, I thought, this is cool. So my request is maybe we don't do a different route every year, because that would be too confusing for everybody, but maybe odd numbered years go on the east side, even numbered years go on the west side or something, and spread the wealth. That's it. I'm a big space nut also. I'm changing subjects here. And it was several years ago that my NASA working relatives said, hey, we want to come April of 2024. Can you put us up? Yes, I can. I was one of those people that went down there to Western Kentucky in 2015. The eclipse is a huge deal. This isn't Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Hopkinsville, if you didn't know it, the length of the eclipse changes depending on where you are. So it started back then in Oregon, ended up in South Carolina. Hopkinsville, Kentucky had the longest duration of a full eclipse. The longest duration of the full eclipse for next April, West Texas and New Mexico. Okay, so we're going to get about 4 minutes. It will be decreasing, and we're actually, Mooresville is a little off the center line to the west, so I would expect people from Illinois and stuff coming in to visit. I have a hard time believing anybody's going to come to Mooresville for a whole weekend, other than my relatives, and they're coming to see me. You know, what we did in Kentucky, yeah, it's surprising, right? What we did in Kentucky is we went down there early in the morning, left at like dark 30, and came back that night. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of people. If people were coming to Indiana to see the eclipse for the weekend, if it were me, I'd be going to where there's the Children's Museum and the Art Museum and the Canal Walk and the Conrad and the Hilton and all. I love Mooresville, that's why I live here. I don't think we're a big draw. So, you know, that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Anyone else? Motion for approval of payment of claims. Do we have 3 sets? I think we have 2 payroll and what are you doing first?
Approval of the claims in the amount of $1,367,706.06.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Craig, Josh.
Payroll vouchers, move to approve in the amount of $214,695.30.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second?
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Craig, Josh, 3-0.
And motion to approve payroll clearing vouchers in the amount of $243,519.65.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second?
Been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Craig, Josh, 3-0. Now, council comments?
I'd just like to thank all the department heads for their hard work on your budget. That's all I have.
Gregory?
Same here. I think they did an awesome job. Thank you.
For our member of the press, we do have a reporter here for the first time in a long time from our newest paper in the town of Mooresville. Something that's a little bit different from the last time that you were here is on the payment of claims. There are 2 payroll dockets, and those are included in the total of claims. State Board of Accounts wants us to have the payroll on a separate docket, but it is folded back into the main one. So we did not just spend $2 million. Just want to make sure that that's clear. I want to welcome you, department heads. Thank you very much. Our next meeting date will be September 19th, 2023. You guys want to have it here?
Why not?
Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?